while they get the slides up, His Eminence Cardinal Turkson, Sister Alfred, Gustavo, and Paula, thank you again for hosting all of us here. It's truly been a space of learning, sharing, and even hope. As we saw even yesterday, even amidst disagreements and the challenges, but there is at least hope that I am leaving with as a computer scientist, and that says a lot, right? So thank you again, and thank you all for sharing your thoughts and ideas. I'm Nitesh Chawla. I'm a computer scientist by training. Been working in AI for the last several years, and in fact, after my PhD, I went to banking, and my executive VP at that time, this is 20 years ago, he said, "Don't tell anyone you do machine learning or AI. Just say you're a quant or a statistician." And now the same bank has a center of excellence in AI. So in 20 years, things do change. So what I'm going to sort of, and I know Hector set us up nicely, but what I've been thinking about since yesterday is, do we have a definition of AI that we can find an agreement on, right? So I'd love to see if folks here, what's your, if some hands could go up and sort of say, what do you think AI is? What's your definition of it? Anyone? Please, Luca.
Hear me? Yes. It is a digital system that automates specific functions that previously needed human knowledge or human intelligence.
When the USA and Europe met to discuss an agreement between the Atlantic countries, they had 55 different definitions of AI.
Yes.
Of AI that's been instituted in different pieces of legislation. So we should probably use that. As a good lawyer, I have to stick with it, which is machine-based system designed to operate with varying levels of autonomy, and they may exhibit adaptiveness after deployment, and that for explicit or implicit objectives infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs, such as predictions, content, recommendations, decisions that can influence physical or virtual environment. That's the legal definition.
Sounds good. So there are clearly legal definitions, and it's funny that we have two lawyers talk about defining AI. So we must get it, we must be getting it right there.
So definition, it's a legal definition that has been adopted by the EU, which is not universally legislating for the rest of, although they would like to, it is not yet universally legislating for the rest of the world.
Yeah. So, so I think so. When we are confused about AI, the good thing to do is ask AI, what is AI? So I asked.
Was used for the European AI Act was based on the OECD definition. So the OECD definition is already gathering a consensus of 40-something.
And then we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Trust me, we'll come back to it. So a simple notion of definition of AI, you had a debate already, right? A day and a half into it. So we need to figure something out as to what is AI. And let's ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT says it's a field of computer science and engineering. Right? It has nothing to do with anything else. It's in computer science and engineering concerned with the theory and development of systems capable of performing tasks that require human intelligence, right? So it's sort of giving a very narrow notion of AI. That's what an AI is telling us what AI is, right? And then you ask Cloud and Anthropic, it gives a similar answer. It's a very technical definition of what AI is and the kind of systems and the tasks that we are performing. And let's look at some of the more textbook definitions. Like when I was a grad student, I studied Russell and Norvik's book on AI, and his definition is, again, intelligent agents that perceive and act based on the data they receive. McCarthy in 1955 said, making intelligent machines, intelligent computer programs. European Commission has its definition. And as Carmen was saying, OECD talked about machine-based systems that can, for a given set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments. Now, as an academic, as someone who teaches AI, studies AI, we often constrain ourselves to the definition, the technical definition of what even Russell and Norvig talk about. None of these definitions talk about human virtues, talk about human-defined objectives, but yet we are teaching our graduates to be thinking about these as mathematical formulations. So something has to be more integrative into our curriculum as well. Just like as a room here, we have different definitions of AI. And if we are in a pedagogy, we have a technical definition of AI. And none of these technical definitions in pick any textbook talk about human dignity, talk about human objectives. So until and unless we sort of incorporate that within a curriculum, we won't get here. And this is nothing new. If you back 70 years ago at the Dartmouth conference, they talked about the attributes of AI system, where the whole idea even then was, can we build these systems that can, use language, form abstractions and concepts? 70 years ago, they were thinking about things that we are grappling with today. 70 years ago, right? And, of course, they thought they would achieve all of these goals in 2 months of the summer. The mistake they did was, they said a 10-man study. Perhaps if some more women were in the group, they would have sold it. So that was a problem that needed to be fixed, perhaps. But so that's the complexity of what we are dealing with. And today we find ourselves there, I think, because of two things that have happened. You've heard enough of NVIDIA GPUs. NVIDIA was a company making these chips for video gamers. Intel and AMD said, it's a small company catering to a niche market, move on, ignore them. It's not big enough market for us to get into, right? But then ImageNet came out at the data repository by Fei-Fei Li from Stanford. GPUs were existing, and we realized we could do these complex floating point operations with these images, and deep learning came to being in the last 10 to 15 years. The papers that were deployed with these technologies were published 25, 30 years ago. There's nothing new about convolutional neural networks that happened. The only thing that happened was data and compute, right? And now we are seeing the chips. And then in 2017, Attention is All You Need came out. And this architecture is what we are all interacting with if we are interacting with any large language model, right? The transformer-based architecture. In 8 years, we find ourselves today here talking about AI. We are still not quite sure what AI is. I'm not quite sure what the definition of AI should be that we can universally accept, or as Gustavo said, there's 55 different ones. So that's the architecture that we are interacting with today. And language models also aren't new. Klaus Shannon looked at the notion of entropy and predictability of the next word in 1951. So we are still sort of, we are in a space where we have built these language models and we are building on prior research, but we often forget some of these ideas have existed going back 70, 75 years ago. But the data and the compute are helping us realize things with this technology that we may not have realized 10, 15, 20 years ago. So as Dolores mentioned, with the AI sustainability, and there were 3 or 4 different aspects given to us as we think about, right? In my opinion today, we are, this video is not coming up, so it doesn't matter. So at Notre Dame, we have this Grubhub, right? I think they are beautiful. They are a menace. They are beautiful or menacing AI bots. And one day I saw my student Gregory pick up his food from these things. And I asked him, why would you do that? He said, I don't have to walk 20 minutes and walk back 20 minutes, etc. He was very proud that he was talking about the time he's saving. But I said, isn't it expensive? He said, now my students in my lab pool in and they order food together. So they sort of split the difference. But that's clever. So I said, so there's several of them do it. I said, okay, even if 5 of you do it, I have 12 PhD students in my lab. You're saving each one of you saving an hour a day. He was very proud. Said, yes, 6 hours a day. I said, so at the end of the week, I'm getting 1 free PhD student. I will pay for your Grubhub because you're saving an hour a day. Collectively, you're saving 5 or 6 hours a day. So at the end of the week, I'm getting 135 hours back from you. So I should see productivity equivalent to 1 free PhD student. I will pay for the Grubhub subscription. Clearly, the productivity hasn't increased. No new papers are happening, but we are saving time. It's convenient. Convenience and productivity are 2 different things. And most of the discussions that we are having today center on, we will save time. But the question is, what are we as a collective group of humans going to do with the time we save? Same thing we see, again, the videos are not coming up, they're embedded. There's this co-pilot that the same student was showing off that he uses co-pilot, and he said how much time he saves. And then I asked him the same question. Now he has stopped telling me about the time he's saving now, because he's afraid I'm going to challenge him to do more. And then after he showed me this, I asked him a question about, so this is advent of code problem that folks in computer science are students. There's Plutonian pebbles that explode, and it's algorithmic complexity aspects to it. We gave the prompt. I asked him to give the prompt to Copilot. Again, the video isn't showing up. And Copilot wrote the entire code for this job interview, entire code. However, the code was correct. The algorithm was not correct, because the algorithm was computationally complex. So those are, and then when he did it with a human in the loop, he designed a better algorithm, the code ran to completion. So as we are thinking about using these tools, what does that mean? So what we are finding ourselves as well as we are going from the idea of fascination to pragmatics and evaluation, we haven't seen, and I haven't heard even in the last day and a half, how do we quantify value for businesses, corporations, and us as individuals? Value in terms of ROI, simply speaking. Yes, the chip companies, the data centers, and Meta and AWS and others will make money, trust me. But the day a retailer or a banker or a grocery shop tells me I'm using AI and I'm making money, that would be, give me 2 minutes, please. I wasn't expecting. Then, there was also the idea of integral ecology. These data centers are connecting to the human environment society, right? We talked about electricity consumption. They're setting their own power bank. What does it mean for us? Something that we had a book that came out where we proposed the idea of a digital ethology. We study ethology in natural sciences as we think about animals and their relationship to each other and the environment around. We should be thinking about us now in this new space as the idea of digital ethology, where our community, our people, our digital footprints should be studied together. Because before we immigrated or migrated by physically moving to a place, now virtually I can move to a place and back, right, with every technology, and I can be embodied in that culture. So what does that mean? So how do we sort of think about those concepts? And something else that we are also thinking about within this digital world is, can we identify biases in our spoken words as we think about homelessness? I've been asked to skip, and I will. And the framework that we are proposing is a responsible, inclusive, safe, and ethical AI framework. And in responsibility, what I'm just going to leave it with, I won't get through all my slides right now, but what I'm going to leave us with here is, to me, responsibility means that someone can be blamed or someone can be taken credit for. In responsible AI development, you have data, you have the algorithm, which is optimizing on error. So let's not fault the poor algorithm here. The developer, the model, the benchmark, the software developers, deployment, and who's using it. If we can attach responsibility to all these actors and agents, we may get to responsible AI. Until then, it sounds like we are giving AI a sense of embodiment and purpose. And with that, I will stop. Thank you.